Please, please.
Sure, President, follow up, thank you once again, being in the service, great city. That's for the anointing over this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Welcome, everybody, to the Jacksonville City Council meeting for August 15th. At this time, roll call.
Councilmember Deets.
Here.
Bolden. McCleary. Sansing. Ray. Mashburn. Moss.
Here.
Twitty. Kinman.
Here.
Raines.
Here.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one absent, sir.
Thank you very much. We are good to go. Before you, you have your minutes from the July 18th meeting. Be familiarizing yourself with those for next time. And right now, entertain a motion to accept the minutes from June 20th as presented to you. Got a motion? Is there a second? Ms. Kinman, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed by nay? Thank you very much. Consent agenda. You had the consent agenda presented to you.
Move the consent agenda is entirety.
Move to adopt the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Multiple seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by nay? Once again, thank you very much. Moving on to our general business. Michelle Spencer, if you'd like to go ahead and come forward, please, with the CDBG, the PY24 action plan and allocations, and public hearing for that.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am, for the sake of time, I'm feeling a little puny today, and so for the sake of time, I will go over the allocations for 2024, and if we have any questions, I'll take the questions and answer as you see it. For the 2024 allocations, we were allotted $230,739. We also had prior year funds of unobligated projects, and that totaled $412,593. We actually, over the 6 years, we took the span of 2018 all the way to 2023, and we reallocated several different years of funding. 2018, we did $44,666. 2019, we actually pulled $58,086. 2021, we pulled $69,947. 2022, $57,517. And 2023 was a total of $182,375. And so in total, that encompasses the $412,593 that we have in the reallocations. As far as the breakdown of those projects, I just wanted to emphasize that we are going to utilize the reallocated funds in specific areas. As you can see on the proposed amounts, we are going to emphasize activities in the public facility improvements, which total repairs at Excel, Johnson, and Galloway Parks, as well as repairs to the Senior Center, Jacksonville Boys and Girls Club, as well as the Jacksonville Towers. They have put in requests, they have needs. One thing in specific that I noticed at the Jacksonville Boys and Girls Club is that they need some extensive assistance, and so it's in the Sunnyside area, so we're able to actually allocate quite a bit to that project. Of course, you can see on your proposals that all of the different areas that are projected, they are included in the activities that are available for funding. So we're just going to move forward. All I ask is that, in conclusion, that you all have an agreement to actually go forward with the projected uses of the funds for 2024, and I open it up for any questions you may have.
So on this target area, like the
Sunnyside Inclusive,
Mhm.
that's going to be doing exactly what for these people?
So the CDBG funds are allocated to low to moderate income with the specific targeted geographical area of Sunnyside. This was set up in the 5-year plan that was initiated in 2021 and will expire in 2025. It will go toward housing, economic development, neighborhood revitalization, public facilities, as I just expressed, public services. We are going to be doing agreement with the subrecipient to be able to provide extended funding to provide utility assistance, temporary shelter vouchers, as well as food distribution to low to moderate income families, as well as our unsheltered population.
So you're only asking for $20,000 for that? Am I just reading that?
Public service has a cap of 15%. Every year, those funds are expended. They are allocated out with the exception of 2023, so that cap is usually utilized. We had a subrecipient care channel that was awarded that every year, so they expended those funds with no problem. However, in the last 2 years, there was some contradictions with what they were allotted through another grant, and it conflicted with what the program specifics are for our program. So that was something that caused them to have to be suspended. So now we're looking at a new prospect for a subrecipient. So it is allocated for, actually, you said 20,000, it's actually 34,611 for public services. Yeah, 20,000 is for neighborhood revitalization, which will go to slum and blight. There are quite a few areas in Sunnyside that may need demos, may need cleaning up, just lots that are sitting unsightly, maybe a target for squatters, et cetera. So with the connection with the police department, we'll get together and find out what of those actual properties need to be possibly demolished, and those funds are set aside for that.
Michelle, are these funds ready now?
They have been allocated, so the actual plan has been put into HUD, so I'm just waiting for our award letter to come in. We can start setting up everything. These are funds, the 412 is funds that we already had in the past, so that is there. We just had to let HUD know what we were going to utilize the funds for moving forward. So yes.
Michelle, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Is there a way for the care channel to be reinstated? Because they still serve the community pretty strong.
Yes. I don't know if it's a way for them to be reinstated by what their standards. It's going to take a specific understanding that the low to moderate income families, for example, if they are receiving SNAP funding, they are specific to ask the question, do you receive SNAP funding? If the answer is no, that person might be a low to moderate income family or individual. However, they will not be able to assist them because they don't fit into their category of an eligible person to receive their benefits.
So the conflict is because I understand the history. I know about the history of that. But our church is like right next door, and I see the people. And I mean, sometimes we have to donate to them. So I know they do a lot over there in the Sunnyside area.
Yes.
I think it's disservice for them not to be able to at least get back into the program.
I understand, and that's a conversation that I've had with the folks over there. It's just if they want to keep their current funding through the SNAPS program, they would have to do some adjustments on their policy and procedure.
And then they would just put another application in to you.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that a lengthy process for you?
No, because they have a agreement already on file. It would just to be able to agree to what the specifics are for that agreement. We are entertaining another subrecipient and working out those specifics, but that doesn't entail the whole amount of funds that's available. So that is a possibility. We just have to work out the specifics. Yes, sir.
Michelle? So on the housing rehabilitation,
Mhm.
They just put in an application with you, and then someone comes out? How's that work?
Well, the process is that, yes, they have to be low to moderate income. They request an application. It's given to them. They have to get in required documents. As far as the process goes, I take all applicants individually for any different project. They are lumped into one pool, and I take them as severity, but a first come, first served basis, just to be fair, because I'm only one person. However, once they get approved, then that process starts, the going out and doing the inspection, and then making sure that they're eligible. That requires me to pull in all of the income in that household. Specific to anyone that's over the age of 18 has to submit their income, versus someone that is a child that I just have to show their identification. However, once that information is tabulated, there are chances that they may or may not get approved because they fall outside the HUD income guidelines. And that's a hard thing to shuffle around, but some folks may think they are well below the level of income, but HUD states that no, you are above and in middle class or what have you. You're not 30% below the annual median income, and so that pushes them out. And so the qualifications are income based. So I have to go by that guideline.
Michelle, I want to just ask the question so I can put it out there. It still requires, for what my fellow councilman requested, that the person own the property and it's deeded in their name, correct?
Yes, sir. Their insurance, I have to collect insurance on the property. It has to be current insurance. The inspection has to take place to make sure that there are not other things that's going to roll over into something that is outside of the scope of work that can be approved. Sometimes there may be a roof that leaks into the wall, which causes electrical issues. That'll roll into electrical repairs, and then that's when the scope of work gets outside of what the allowable cost is that we can cover, which is, I believe, not to exceed $7,500 for a home repair.
So I guess you probably have a guideline that you use, so we can get
Yes.
a copy of it. I can get a copy of it.
Oh, yes, sir.
I go in there a lot, well, I'm a realtor, so I'm everywhere. But we're rebuilding and revitalizing some houses in there, some new ones going up. And there's a lot of the people that are, you know, older couple or younger, but a husband and wife, and, you know, their means aren't very, well, they don't make a lot of money, you know, with the way the government pays them. So they would have to qualify, but I understand it's kind of like getting a loan through the program, HUD and that, you know, they count all the income. But you have guidelines so we would know to let these people know that they need to probably go ahead and apply for it.
Yes.
Get all their documents ready.
Yes, and they know in advance of the guidelines. I send that out with the
Good, okay.
application,
Yeah, I
so.
figured you had it all under control, but I'm just asking because I see a lot of needs, and when I go in there and talk to people, you know, you know, it's some of them in sad situations. That's all I can say.
I understand. Any other questions?
Yes, you had mentioned about the housing voucher. Can you tell me more? Can you tell us more about that program?
Well, it's actually a hotel voucher, so to speak. It's usually used for displaced individuals. I can give an example. Maybe the individual is homeless, displaced, and waiting on a rental property to come open, or waiting on their name to move from number 2 to number 1 on the waiting list at Jacksonville Housing Authority. Whichever the case, they are displaced at that moment. So they can get 1 week, and it's sometime a case by case. If I've gotten a call where an individual had something happen with the electronics of SSI payment. It wasn't her fault, but that delayed. And most folks, low to moderate, they have zero time to be evicted. I mean, they don't have a paycheck. Period. Not one check away, they're 0 checks away. So with that being said, she was in a situation where she was about to be evicted, and she was living in a hotel meanwhile, but because that one check didn't come, she was out paying her weekly payment for an extended stay. And so with me knowing the date, she can prove that that information is coming. I get documentation so I can support her past that 1 week, possibly up to a month. And so that how that works. But it's for a hotel, it's not for rent. And I've gotten calls, I heard you can help with rent. We don't have a rental fund, except for the COVID funds. We do have a small amount of money left in that grant to be able to assist, but it has to be directly connected to COVID, why you fell on a financial hardship.
Right. Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I've had several constituents reach out to me in regards to personal property tax. So we have the optional additional tax for our animal shelter. And it was asked, how hard would it be for us to have an additional optional tax for the CDBG program, as well as having options for constituents to make one-time donation payments to the CDBG, like you can do for the animal shelter.
Okay. First I've heard, so let me look into it. And I can't respond on the first part yet because Mike's had just found out, so let me investigate.
Mm-hmm.
But the second part of the question about being able to donate like you would for somebody to the shelter, off the top of my head, I don't know a reason why they could not do it unless Madam Council or Ms. Spencer, if there's any reason why you could not receive that. I don't know of any reason why somebody couldn't do that.
No, I don't, but I could research to be sure as well.
I mean, if anybody were wanting to specifically donate to them, I mean, all they'd have to do was come by here, call, whatever the form is, if it's check, you name it, and have it designated and say this is going towards CDBG, or if there is a specific area within CDBG that they would like that to go for, they could do that. So.
I think specifically they were asking for like an online option, so if they go to the city website and go under CDBG, having that online option there. So the other thing, under your projects, Project 5, for job creation retention, can you give us more information on that project?
Yes, over the years, economic development had in place job creation and retention. And what it did was it provided training to create or retain jobs. However, the past 2 years, there was no activity funded for that specific area. And I think it was due because a community development director is mainly attempting to get those housing rehabs out and get all of the services taken care of under the CDBG. And I'm so glad to have Robert here, because now he and I, through this allotted amount, I think it's $20,000, we'll be able to be creative and find other areas associated with training and creating or retaining jobs that we can, use that economic development amount.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from Ms. Spencer?
Yes, I have one more.
Okay.
So, on page 36, we speak of the city will continue to seek funding from other sources and seeking additional resources of supportive service providers. So what actions are being made by the city or yourself on that specifically?
Well, specifically, it's more on the second part of that statement, because of the resources that are becoming available in the community by way of the COC, and reaching out to those participants and folks who are receiving those awards. It's bridging that gap of services. Just because I'm just now being able to say confidently with my proposal that I feel where the money is, what it needs to be used for. So now I can start concentrating for 2024, getting other funding in, because I need some help. I need some help badly. And what you all should realize is that 412,000, that didn't come out of the air. That was left over each year. And when you have, I think in 2018, Miss Teresa actually dropped down from having a staff of maybe 4, and because she lost the ADFA funding, that took away those positions. So she was a one-woman department trying to spend 200,000+ each year, and that can be quite cumbersome. And so I have reached out to my counterparts in different departments, because I will have to have their help. Parks and Recreation, Economic Development, I'll have to have individuals in finance to help. We're thinking about some things over in Sunnyside, dealing with the land and maybe doing a walking area, cycling. I'll need, their input in the fire department. It's just, I need the whole departments to help with this, to make sure we accomplish the goal of spending this $600,000+ that we have.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that, because it is most definitely an all-hands-on-deck teamwork makes the dream work kind of thing. And with that being said, and the partnership that you had mentioned with Mr. Birch, is it possible that in the future that we could potentially apply for economic and community development grants that are available? Would that be a capacity for us to, make a grant proposal?
Yes,
for these?
I've actually had individuals in the community to reach out just recently as this week to start looking at that. I had to get past today, and so we'll be meeting next week to discuss additional funds and energy, et cetera, to be able to assist not just the Sunnyside area, but the citizens across the city.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. I'd like to thank Michelle for her hard work. I think if we look at everything that she's touched in the funding, as we talk about the quality of life in Jacksonville and how do we improve the quality of life and not only retain who we have, but also get new families here, I think you've touched every part that's possible, whether it's the seniors, whether it's the park, whether it's helping somebody buy a home. You've touched probably every possible part that a person or family that looks to move to Jacksonville would want to improve, would want to look at. So thank you for that.
Thank you. One thing to add, I took in very high consideration the citizen participation and their comments, and that's why I provided that on that comment page so you all could see what the high needs were in their eyes. And so I took that in very much consideration, and also speaking with the directors at the different areas, especially the Senior Center, Jacksonville Boys and Girls Club, and Jacksonville Towers, because these are our youth and these are the elders who have taken care of us. So I think they should be accommodated and have the best, because these youth are going to be our leaders one day. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Next agenda, we have a presentation of our 2023 financial audit of the city. Mr. Coleman.
Good evening. How's everyone doing today?
How are you doing?
Great, great. My name is
You
David.
excited?
I'm super. I always love coming to Jacksonville. So I grew up right up the road. I didn't go to school here, but I played a lot of football here. I fished in your lakes. So I enjoy coming here. So
Best city in the state?
yes, sir. So I have the pleasure tonight to present you with the finding, not any findings, but just the results of the 2023 audit. So I have a brief presentation. Can everyone see that? It's not flowing up there, but I'll speak to it. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about financial highlights, kind of the audit scope and results, and then I'll answer any questions that you all have very briefly. As far as financial highlights, I like to talk about the general fund. That's what you all manage. That's what you control. The general fund is kind of the operating fund of the city. So As of December 31, 2023, your ending unassigned fund balance was $8.9 million. So what unassigned fund balance mean is basically you can use that to pay for what you need to do to operate the city. It's not restricted in any way. You have not, as a governing body, put any restrictions on that money. So you can pay payroll, you can do capital expenditures, not whatever you want to, but whatever within the law you want to do with it. $8.9 million. So a way that we kind of measure that, we look at your budgeted expenditures next year and say what percentage is that unassigned fund balance compared to your budgeted expenditures next year. So it's 33%, which that's healthy. The Government Finance Officers Association has a recommendation of 20%, so you are well above that. What that equates to is roughly 4 months of operating expenditures that you have an unassigned fund balance at the end of the year. So a good job from you all, the mayor and the finance team, of managing that fund balance and having that reserved. All right, yes sir. Next, I like to look at pensions. So, you know, every municipality in Arkansas, throughout the country, has pension liabilities, and typically that's the largest liability on a city's balance sheet. So as you can see here, you have 5 different pension plans. You have a old police and fire plan, you have an APERS, and a couple lot fee. But the way that you look at this to kind of see how you're doing is you look at this middle column here, the plan, the percent funded. So that 95.66, what that represents is you have enough assets to cover that liability, 95.66% of that pension liability. So with your police fund, you're almost fully funded. Your fire plan, you're 80.92, that's very healthy. And the other ones, the ones at LOPFI, you're doing what you need to do, what they tell you to do to pay that liability, to fund your pension liabilities for your public servants, your police and firemen. So I like to point that out in any presentation that I do. So you also have an OPEB plan, and what that is you allow retirees to be on your health plan. You don't fund that plan, but you do have a liability for that, because if a 70-year-old person retires and stays on or not 70-year-old, 58-year-old retires and stays in your health plan, it's going to raise the cost, right? Because they're older and might have more claims. So the GASB several years ago came up with this concept. We're going to try to monetize that number. So right now your liability is $1.2 million for that, which is not that significant. You're just paying that as you go. So the only way that you can really fund this liability is put it in a trust and pay from there. I'm not advocating for that, but again, not super significant. It went up a little bit. So as far as our audit scope, so we issue 4 different opinions on your audit, on your financial statements. So one, we audit this book here that management prepares. So Cheryl and her team prepare this document. I don't do anything but the opinion in here. So we did audit this. We issued a clean, unmodified opinion. I think they were about 2 months ahead of where they were last year. This is my 3rd year to be on your audit, and I think we've improved every year since we've been here. And this year we're able to issue it even earlier than last year and then the year before. I will say you also send your ACFR off to the Government Finance Officers Association of America, and you get a reward. You get a reward for that, an award. So an award is in this document that says, hey, your ACFR is in good shape. It meets all the requirements. So somebody besides your audit firm is also looking at this and reviewing it, and giving you an award for that. As you just heard, CDBG, you have federal funds. We're required to audit those too. We do a risk assessment. This year we audited the highway planning cluster. You have a lot of construction on the roads going on, so there was a flow through from the state that took up that what we audited this year. We audited that. We didn't find any findings. We're also required to audit certain aspects of state compliance. So the state tells us we have to go down and check your police officers' ticket books and stuff like that, just stuff that they require us to do. So we we did all of that. We don't have any findings to report to you, which is really good. So, and it has not always been like that, but we don't have any findings to report on internal control, on your grants that we audited, and really nothing out of the ordinary to report to you. So here's the grant that we audited, the Highway Planning and Construction Cluster. We did issue an unmodified opinion on that, which is the best opinion you can have. So all in all, we really enjoy working with you all and with management. It's been a pleasure to work with Cheryl and Laura, and we're looking forward to the future. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions, comments?
I don't have a question, but I will say that this was very thorough, and I definitely appreciate everything.
Thank you. It's a lot of work. We've been working on it for 6 months, and we're kind of demanding. We're nice, but we're demanding. Your audit standards are difficult, and it requires some late nights, and your staff did an excellent job working with us, so they're to be applauded.
I'd like to give Cheryl and her team.
If there are no other questions or comments on that, Mr. Coleman, thank you very much.
Thank you for your business.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
great night.
Not.
Next, Director of Economic Development, Mr. Birch, can come up and give us an update.
Always fun to follow an audit. I wanted to start it off with, I know it was said earlier, but I want to thank Michelle for the work that she's done. I have worked with HUD in the past. I worked with HUD with COVID. It is probably one of the most difficult federal organizations to deal with. They put all kinds of restrictions that make it almost impossible sometimes to get things done. And any help that any of us can give her, well, we need to give it, because to do it as one person, it's a challenge. And there's a lot of money out there in HUD that gets left on the table because you can't get through the barriers that they have sometimes. So I also want to say that for the next city council meeting, I have invited Aaron Stanger, who is the head of Providence Park, the Pulaski County homeless village that's being built, to come and speak with us. I've known Erin for about 8 years now, worked very closely with her at the Innovation Hub. She's a great friend and probably one of the most positive people you will ever find. And I think she's going to bring some value to that meeting, answer some questions. And some of the homes that are being built for Providence Park have been put together actually here in Jacksonville. So I will not steal any of her thunder and let her speak on that at our next meeting. As far as economic development, one thing is council members, city employees, one thing that we have to keep in mind is when developments come to us and to the city, we have to respect those developments, and we have to wait for them to announce. We have to wait for them to say it's we want to, because most of them want to do a ribbon cutting, a big show, break out the shovels and do dirt. Typically on a lot of them, either myself or the mayor will sign a non-disclosure agreement on them. Word typically tends to leak on some things, or people start guessing on some things. As the mayor and I spoke Sunday at Second Baptist, and I said, people will run wild on Facebook with, oh, this is coming or this is coming, and 99% of the time it's wrong. But don't feel like you need to go out there and tell them what's right. Sometimes it's okay to let them run with it, because there are things that happen that sometimes will cause delays. They will cause a project not to come that is no fault of anybody's, but we don't want that information getting out, and we want to give whichever business it is the availability to make their announcement for their business coming to make our city look good. Because these projects come in, it is never one person that does these projects, and some of the times the projects don't even come through me. You can ask Mike. We were talking just a moment ago about how many projects are calling him about property that he represents. Daniel Gray has had several that he calls me and says, hey, I've got so and so looking at this, did you hear about it? Mary Twitty called me the other day about, and it typically happens with retail. She called me about one, asking me if I knew about it, because they will just come in and talk to the owners of the property a lot of times to move in. Typically through economic development, it comes through the bigger projects, the industrial headquarters of businesses, things that really need a lot of work to get them here. But we are reaching out to retail. And the mayor and I had a conversation with the group the other day. It was a furniture store. And one of the things that kind of caught me off guard was he said, I've never had a city reach out to me before. He goes, so I appreciate you being proactive, that you guys are out cold calling. And they're in another state. They haven't expanded into this state, but he's now looking at locations here because we reached out and called. And it was nice to hear that, but we've got to rely on everybody in this community. Just like Michelle was talking about earlier, I've got to rely on realtors, I've got to rely on store owners, and keeping everybody in the loop. I don't care to get credit for anything. If a project comes, I'm happy to help in whatever way possible, but it's the city of Jacksonville that brings the project here. It's not one person. So I wanted to cover that to begin with. We have had lately, and this is positive news, I'll get real excited when it happens, but we've had a lot of restaurants calling us lately. And a lot of quick service, and a lot of, is what I really want to bring in, some sit downs. I think that's what we really need here, is some sit down restaurants. We need some coffee shops. We need some variety, and we're starting to get that response from places. I look for early 2025 to start seeing some results. We're going to start seeing some towards the end of this year, some that should be announced probably within the next month, and that's some excitement. We are working on a extremely large project out at the industrial park right now. If the land has already been purchased, it was actually purchased right after I started back in February. It is the old Regal Warehouse facility. We have been working with Entergy and Summit Utilities on this project, and if the power needs and the land there's a little bit more land they need to purchase, if they can get that worked out, this is going to be a $380 million project. And it is going to revitalize that part of the industrial park, and it is going to be a very large job producer. I wish I could tell you everything about it. It's going to be manufacturing. It's going to be great for the city. I have worked on this literally since the day after I started. I saw actually Larry Wilson called me and asked me if I'd seen Arkansas Business that day. I saw it, called the realtor that made the deal, tracked it all the way down to the ownership group, and started working from there. We were working with several other projects, some existing projects. Obviously, everybody knows 6 Hour is going to expand. That announcement was made. They're close to opening their new facility. They're going to expand off of that as well. We are working on a couple grants, one with MetroPlan, one with AEDC. Both of them are for our Wooten Road property. One is for the engineering of widening the road. The other is going to be for the actual widening of the road, because that site has garnered a ton of interest, and it won't go anywhere if we're not able to widen that road. And if we're able to widen that road and we're able to sell that property, there's potential $8 to $9 million worth of revenue for the city of selling that property, and bringing in a lot of good projects. Right now, we've got 3 of them that are circling it. 2 of them we've made the final 2 or 3 on. We should be hearing soon, but one of the things that they're going to require is that road to be widened, and that's a tough project. But fortunately, AEDC opened up a new program of site assistance grants, and I think I was the second person to submit one, because as soon as I saw it was opened up, I jumped in and sent a letter in saying we're submitting, because it's that important for that site for us to grow. Let's see past that. One of the other main things, Well, I'm going to jump to something with the air base real quick. Michelle and I had a meeting with them last week, and they are working on an energy resilience program that they've been working on for a long time. They've asked us to partner with them. Part of it is with solar. Part of it is with some other forms of energy. We're in the starting conversation with it. We're going to meet with them and Entergy and probably the mayor later this month. But again, that just ties us to more help with the base, more assistance that we can give them, more partnership we can give them. And we're also working on a grant for 2025 that will, do I want to say what the grant's for?
Your call on that. I'll defer to your wisdom.
No.
The ask, yes or no.
It's a $20 million grant that comes up every year, and we met with the base and asked them to give us their top 3 things. It's a grant that is what can the community do to support the base better, but it has to be off base. And fortunately for us, we were under 100,000 people, so it is a 100% grant, no match. So there's been some attempts in the past. Wastewater has tried with it and a couple others, but we think we have a project that will work. We were going to try for this year, but there's no way we could have gotten it done. So in meeting with the base, they wanted to try it for next year, and so that work is going to continue into the beginning. We'll hopefully submit it by March, but it's going to take an awful lot of work. But if we are able to pull this one off, it'll be outstanding. The biggest thing that I want to do, I think the biggest thing that we can do for the city of Jacksonville is our Main Street and Marshall Road revitalization and redevelopment of Marshall Road. I want to take an extremely active role in that. So I know there's been committees in the past that have been put together for it. I want to be as involved as possible. I've had different committee members that have come up and said, hey, we want to meet. Just say when. I will be available. And I will make myself available to it. I've got a lot of experienced people that I can lean on that can come in and help, and will be willing to do it at no charge. I've got some property owners that I want to get together in a couple areas to reimagine some opportunities that we have and start building that success down Main Street. Because Rex Nelson said it best. He goes, you can see the success of a city by looking at its Main Street. And I think that is very true. And we have some really good things on our Main Street, but we have some holes, and we need to fill them, and we need to do some beautification on it, and it can be done, and there's a lot out there to help. So, and if you've got any questions, I'm willing to answer, and if not, I told you I could do it in less than 15 minutes.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Birch? Robert, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to ask for a motion to suspend the rules so that we can place a resolution on tonight's agenda. It'll be resolution 849. So moved. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by nay? All right, thank you for that. So I'd entertain a motion to read resolution 849. And this is in reference to actually what Mr. Birch was just talking about. So we have a motion and a second. Roll call. Or no, never mind. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by nay?
Resolution 849, a resolution of the City of Jacksonville, Arkansas, supporting the Wooten Road project and committing local match funds for the suburban commercial street improvement project and for other purposes.
Move the adoption of resolution 849.
Second. All right. All in favor? Hold on. All right. Any other discussion? I know you made, but was there any question? All right. We have a motion for approving and adopting resolution 849. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by nay? All right. Thank you very much. Is there any new business or old business? What's that? Any other new or old business? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.